Everybody.
Hey,
In just a little while, we're going to get going on this race between Poorscythe and xelnas in the group phase. So, waiting for everybody to ready up. While we're getting ready, if anyone has never seen this race before, it's a real different other version of Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 1. Taryn, you want to talk a little bit about why it's so different than other versions?
Everything centers around a pretty major glitch in this version.
Oh, and the race is just starting in SRL, FYI.
Yeah, so Restream will be catching up in just a moment. Anyway, as we're going to see once these runners start, they're going to immediately go to the weapon shop, and they're going to pick up something that appears suboptimal, especially for a speed run. But there's a method to this madness, as you're going to see. Once these players menu, and xelnas is setting it up, so is Poorscythe. So, as these runners are getting going, you can see knight's armor flashing by, and where the heck did they get that? The answer is, it's the helmet, the hammer that they picked up in the beginning. Every weapon and armor has an index number in the game's code, and by swapping between your characters and the item slot on specific frames, like within a few frames of each other, you can confuse the game into trying to equip the weapon or armor you already have to its corresponding counterpart with the same index.
So what we did at the beginning there was we made 5 sets of knight's armor. It's a mid-game armor that usually only the warrior or knight can wear in the early game. And it gives us a lot of defense that we're not supposed to have yet. So basically all physical attacks that aren't critical, except for a few boss-type enemies, are going to deal 1 hit point damage per hit right now. So we're really over-leveled. The reason we made a 5th set was to sell, because those knight's armors also have a very high sell value. And throughout the game, we'll be selling all 5 of those sets of knight's armor, and that will completely fund our run.
Yeah, it's very trippy how that works, but when you consider that, plus the little bit of enemies we'll be killing, we're mainly going for certain high-value experience enemies in about the midpoint of the run, and as Shinbreaker said, that will completely fund the run.
And it looks like our runners are taking the same step route, but their encounters are a little different. Why is that?
If you've played the NES version, then you know about the encounter table, and that most of the high-level runs step chart it. In this one, it is completely random. It is basically based on a threat scale. As you take steps, your threat increases, and once it reaches a certain threshold, you get an encounter.
And that threshold is also affected by a random number generator that I believe is frame-based. So we just have no way of controlling it.
That's right. So
there you see we also glitched and got ourselves a judgment staff from a leather helmet. That gave our characters what's kind of basically a post-game weapon that's in one of the bonus dungeons exclusive to... Like that one's from a bonus dungeon that's in the GBA version and the PSP version, and it's a much more powerful item, even though it's just a staff at this point in the game. But we're going to see pretty soon that it has another special use.
And the number may not look impressive, but you have to consider it's free. And it still beats the heck out of any weapon these runners could conceivably pick up from the weapon shop at this point in the game.
And until about the last 2 or 3 bosses of the game, because of this equipment glitch, we're going to be one-cycling pretty much all of the bosses. It's a really overpowered route. But our characters are also going to be very low hit points. So it is by no means a free route. There is high risk of death in this route.
Absolutely. There's at least 5 or 6 points in this game where all it takes is one bad roll or one bad ambush, and the run's over.
Mm-hmm. And that's something that kind of famously happened last year's tournament with xelnas. xelnas was expected. He was a much more active runner at the time, and he was considered basically a shoo-in for the brackets. And he had a really unfortunate encounter with Tiamat 2, usually considered a fairly safe battle by most runners, that he just got bad roll after bad roll after bad roll, and lost the run very unexpectedly toward the end of the game, and ended up eliminating him before the group phase, the end of the group phase.
Now, as you're seeing over on xelnas' screen, they did add cutscenes to this version of the game. Some of them can be skipped. This particular one cannot. You can tell which ones can be skipped. The opening that you may be used to from the NES version can be skipped, and certain ones that involve a cinematic as opposed to world map or other map footage of game assets can be skipped.
Basically, anytime the game cuts out of the in-game engine, you can skip it.
Exactly, and we're going to see that in a couple of places up ahead.
Yeah. Poorscythe already did it once. They both technically did it at the very, very beginning. xelnas going to do it again here when he crosses the bridge.
And also, you may have seen them pick up the loot straight away. They need it for much later in the game, but it's actually a time save. If you try to leave the room without talking to the princess, she'll call you back and waste a few seconds.
So it looks like we're trying to avoid the forest tiles. The reason for that is the forest tiles have a very high encounter rate, whereas on the world map, the swamp tiles actually have a lower encounter rate. So generally, we try to aim for swamp tiles, we try to avoid forest tiles. And Poorscythe has just reached Provoca. We're going to see the other use of the Judgment Staff here.
I would say blink and you might miss it, but one reason we don't use it for this function much is take a look at how long the animation is.
If you take a short nap, you might. And my goodness, was that the most powerful spell in the game?
That was indeed a flare, or if you're more used to the NES nomenclature, the nuke spell.
Well, you know, this is a Final Fantasy game, so the staff was destroyed when they did that, right?
Yeah, it's more like Final Fantasy III in that regard, where you can use the staffs over and over instead of something like 5 or 6 where they break upon use.
And so the only reason we don't use that basically constantly is that long animation. In fact, Poorscythe just went and bought a leather shield from the store. We're going to be transforming later in the game to a different staff that's less powerful but has a faster animation. We're going to avoid using that staff as much as possible because it's 8 seconds every time you use it. So if we get really lucky, which never happens, but with perfect luck, you use the staff 2 to 3 times in the game. There's right there and then on the next boss, and then hopefully you don't have to use it anymore.
That's laid plans. And you saw Poorscythe walking along the dock tiles. This is by design because the threat counter does not increase. And in addition, you can't get encounters at all on those tiles. So it's basically free steps, and you're seeing it again with him ducking into the castle and out. It also saves 2 steps to do that with the castle specifically.
This game is full of little 1 and 2 second time saves, and also chock full of 2 and 3 minute potential losses to bad encounters. We do everything we can to make our part as quick as possible. Then there is a large RNG factor with the encounters, and more importantly, the quality of the encounters. If it's an unrunnable or an ambush or a high number of enemies. But part of that randomness that makes some people frustrated when they try to play the game is actually great for us. We enjoy because it allows us to have much more exciting races, because you can have a runner with a PB that's 10 minutes better than another runner still have a competitive race. And it's never over until the end.
So Xelnas picking up a single gold needle, which I'm thinking he was hoping he had more money than he did, and he could grab a 10 spot of them for safety reasons.
Yeah, more and more now I've gone back myself to getting those needles after the Astos fight and getting the Thieves' Armlets because I'll already have the other Knight's Armors to sell at that point.
That's typically what I'll do as well. It's just much more efficient routing because these runners don't appear to be doing it, but I use a different route that uses black magic spells.
Yeah. Speaking of what, there are, a year ago in this tournament and the year before, the routes basically hadn't changed much. There was basically one route, the Barbarian Sword route. Now you have variants on that route where we basically have 3 or 4 different routes we run now. And Poorscythe is fighting Pisco Demons.
You can't run from those. And they can take a decent amount of hits, so the best thing to do is just flare them. Hold X to win. And we get the crown, which we're going to be bringing up to the Western Keep for a bit of a little fetch chain.
So our goal at this point in the game is to get into the main area of the game world, get out of this little trapped water area we're sailing around in. In order to do that, we need to get some dwarves to blow a hole in a earthen dam. To do that, they're going to need nitro powder. To get the nitro powder, well, that's locked behind a door that can only be unlocked with an item called the Mystic Key, which is held by an elf prince who is currently unconscious. To wake him up, we're going to need an item called the Jolt Tonic. To get the Jolt Tonic, we have to get the Witch Matoya's Crystal Eye back from the Dark Elf King Astos. For Astos to reveal himself to us, we have to give him the crown we just picked up. So it's a long, long chain fetch quest, but we can clear in about under 20 minutes because we're pretty good at this game now.
So this is interesting over on Xelnas' screen. He's got the 4 Pisco Demons, and this could actually help a little bit on the experience front. Does need to be careful, though. The Black Mage didn't get any of it.
Yeah, and if you're running the route that you're running, the Black Mage is actually the last one you want to take a hit there.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, later on with the grind, typically you want to get both mages to a certain level, but some people shortcut and just look at the white mage's level. In this case, that could be a fatal flaw.
Also, I'm noticing he didn't completely heal the warrior there. Why not just take him to full health?
This is by design. When we come to our one big grind in the route, pretty much no matter what route, we're going to want the heavier fighters dead and the mages only gaining experience. By keeping a tight grip on how much HP the warrior and the thief have, we can control this with our grind.
Xelnas is having a little trouble with paralysis over on the right side while Poorscythe is taking out the Dark Elf Astos without any trouble. So Xelnas is having a bit of a hard time right now. He's close to a paralock, but he does get Judgment Staff off. If all 4 characters get paralyzed, you can lose a lot of time and potentially just have all your characters killed. Kind of a death by 1,000 cuts, kind of literally with the armor we're wearing.
Let me tell you, that is a pain, a serious pain. You don't even get a chance to respond if you're paralocked.
And paralocked is just our portmanteau saying, combining 2 words, paralysis and lock. So it is by far our least favorite thing to happen other than just straight up dying.
You may also hear it called a stun lock. It's the same thing. So Poorscythe's making his way back over to Elfheim. And he grabbed the leather shield already, correct?
Poorscythe did grab the leather shield. I did not see if Xelnas grabbed it.
So Poorscythe is likely to be on an item version of the Lust Dagger route in that case. Yep, bypassing the spell shop entirely. So we're seeing the death spell used on Astos on Xelnas' screen, and down goes the thief. If you played the NES version, you might be thinking, yeah, good riddance. But in this one, the thief, to become the ninja, is actually our highest damage dealer.
But in that particular battle, the only ones we really don't want to hit are the mages. If nothing else, it's nice to have our mages at the same level, simply for counting levels later on, for leveling purposes, so they'll level together during the grind fight. That way you don't have to check the menu quite as often.
Yeah, it's so much easier when everything's nice and synced up.
Alright, let's see how Poorscythe does on his broom luck.
That's another one of those little cutscenes that you can't skip.
And Poorscythe has the Jolt Tongue, so he's going to be able to go back to the Elf Village, Elf Castle, to wake the prince up and get his Mystic Key. And we're going to be doing another glitch there. We're going to see another aspect of the item glitch we started to use before. We're going to be using a little bit more, where we're going to be able to equip items on the wrong slot and multiple copies of the item. It's going to be really neat.
You already saw that to a degree with Knight's Armor on the glove slot, but it's going to get taken to a new extreme up ahead. Ooh, this is a bad group Poorscythe's running into. The big eyes can still hit pretty consistently with paralysis, and the Sahuagin are just a pain to run from.
And Xelnas is also dealing with a lone shark. The shark by itself is actually oddly difficult to run from sometimes.
Typically, what we want to see is few of these aquatic encounters until we get back to the Elven Castle and get our next swap on.
And Poorscythe's getting an ambush, so Xelnas going to be able to regain some time here, hopefully. I say hopefully, I don't want to curse Poorscythe, but he did get a 125 run yesterday, so he's kind of due for a bad run.
That's not commentator curse.
Typically, we do like traveling the boat. The encounter rate is low, you move very quickly, but some of the encounters you can get, as you've seen, can be very bad encounters.
It's very much a mixed blessing. If you get a C with next to no encounters, that can shave minutes off of a run. Whereas if you get bad encounter luck, you're going to be cursing the whole way.
So Poorscythe is going to go and wake up the prince here and get this Mystic Key. It's going to do a neat little time save. We need to get to the top right of the castle. The quickest way to do that is not actually going to the right or to the top. It's actually to go to the bottom left. That's because it's quicker to leave the castle and come back in closer to objective than it is to actually walk across the castle.
Right, and with the layout of the castle, he would also have had to walk all the way to the bottom to go around, as you see him doing.
And here we got the Mithril Hammer, which can be equipped by the warrior or the white mage. You do need to be able to equip the original item being used for the glitch by the character initiating it, which is going to be important later on. But we're going to use that to give everybody 3 copies of the Thief's Armlet. The Thief's Armlet increases your agility by 5, which will make it better odds of our characters going early in the turn order and having greater success at running. And why aren't we putting any of them on the shield slot?
The shield slot is a little tricky to work with. Certain items do not have an animation when applied to the shield slot. You can put it there at your own risk, but you're risking a pretty nasty lockup of the game if you do. If it tries to call for that animation, if, say, you're getting hit and it tries to pull up the shield, whoops, you just locked up the game. Some items do actually have a shield animation that aren't shields, but we won't see those till later. The Thief Armlet is not one of those safe items.
So Poorscythe choosing not to get the mithril knife, so will not be using the mithril knife can be used to create the black robe, which can cast Blizzara for free.
This is an interesting call. Maybe he'll pick it up in a bit when he goes to Crescent.
And on a perfect run, you wouldn't ever have to use it. So, looks like xelnas went ahead and grabbed the stuff to do the Sage's Staff route.
No, he didn't. That far right chest is the one with the gloves you need to glitch Sage's Staffs.
Oh, sure enough.
Looks like he was just grabbing the money.
That might make sense, as he had the money problems earlier trying to get the gold needles. And Poorscythe is coming down here to go ahead and blow that Earthen Dam so we can get to the most important item glitch of the game, especially for the older routes, but on any route, really.
Yeah, that's a fun thing about the evolution of this route. It didn't completely eliminate the tactics of the old one, it just refined them.
Okay, Leonis is saying that he thinks that Poorscythe did get the mithril knife. I may have just missed it. He may have gotten it before he got the nitro powder.
So now you see we cut out of the game engine for just a second, but it's enough for Poorscythe to skip that little part of the cutscene.
And xelnas grabbing the saber instead of the mithril knife. I think xelnas may be a little rusty right now.
It's possible. Also, you said he was doing this a lot more last year, and last year it was pretty much Barbarian Sword or go home.
Yeah, we didn't get the mithril knife, most of us in the old route. Pretty much the only person who used to do it was Lino, and we all kind of made fun of him for it, and now we're all eating crow.
How's it taste?
Gamey.
So you're seeing now with Poorscythe, it is a ton easier to run from these things. Even this group, which a few minutes ago you were cursing at seeing, it's like, eh.
Alright, so Poorscythe is getting the Melman. We'll be visiting this town 3 times, only one of which is required to complete the game, but this menu basically is required.
Right, we're gonna sell all the Knight's Armors here, and we are going to glitch Barbarian Swords.
And the Mage's Staff, which we'll also be using later. The Barbarian Sword, it's a little more powerful than that Judgment Staff. It's also even a little more powerful than the Excalibur that lots of people remember from Final Fantasy I. In fact, between it and its strength boost attached to it, it is 3 times as powerful as the most powerful weapon in the game. So our characters are going to hit like trucks now. You'll see this on the next boss.
Let's put it this way, if you've played the GBA version of this and run through the bonus dungeons, you know that one of them contains the Ultima weapon, which gets more powerful based on your current hit points. This thing blows that out of the water even at a max 999 hit points. It is the weapon that, if you're trying to get it legitimately, good luck. you have to beat a special boss unique to this version, and fortunately not needed for the speedrun. But you have to beat its hardest variant.
It's kind of like how in Final Fantasy VII, if you beat Emerald Weapon, you get all the Master Materia. Well, this is your ultimate super boss, and by the time you beat it, you don't need that sword anymore. But we get to cheat our way into it. And Poorscythe is about to enter the 3rd floor of the Cavern of Earth. This is the first when the game starts getting scary. So, notice he goes and takes the save there. There are a couple bad encounters here. You can get paralyzed, you can run across Pisco Demons that are unrunnable, but worst of all, you can run across cockatrices. Cockatrices can petrify you, and petrification is worse than death because we can only cure it with a gold needle. If your entire party gets petrified, it is game over, and on an ambush that can happen. And he gets a Wraith ambush. That can be a little scary. It can cause a paralysis lock.
Luckily, it looks like the Wraiths are centering their blows on the warrior.
So, is it unusual that they're attacking the warrior so much, or is there something special about that?
Party placement does matter as far as enemies hitting you. The character in the first slot is going to get hit a ton more than the one in the second slot, which will get hit a bit more than the ones in the 3rd and 4th slots.
I believe the numbers is a 50% chance of slot 1, 25 for slot 2, and a split 12.5 each for the 3rd and 4th slots.
That does sound about right.
And Poorscythe's coming on the vampire boss. Now this is going to be a very difficult boss fight, I think.
Xelnas having a little trouble with his swaps. And that is a blink and you miss it fight over on Poorscythe's side with the vampire. It can't stand up to the barbarian sword at all.
And it looks like Xelnas is going full barbarian sword route.
It is not an invalid route. It does have the advantage of being the older route, so a lot more runners have committed it to memory.
Yes,
they don't necessarily need guides.
And it's a little safer on some of the bosses because you don't have to worry about the turn order affecting whether or not you can one-cycle some of the bosses.
And we'll start seeing this especially late. The downside is, if you have to clear a big group of enemies, you have to use the Judgment Staff. And that's going to be 8 seconds per clear.
So why is Poorscythe heading out of the Cavern of Earth?
In the vanilla game, you cannot get all the way to the bottom of the Earth Cave in one go. After you defeat the vampire, you get a Star Ruby. You use that to get to the next place you need to go to get the item to open up the rest of the Earth Cave.
So we're going to get to see the first 3 floors of this Earth Cave 3 times. Oh, Poorscythe getting a little bat luck there. Technically, you only visit the 3rd floor twice, but you have to go across and back once, so I count that as 3 times.
That makes sense. So we see Xelnas choosing not to save as he hits floor 3. He's gonna hope he can stay away from the unrunnables and the cockatrice ambushes.
And Poorscythe just ran across some shadows. We've seen those a couple times so far, and it seems really lucky that they've been preemptives every time.
In the original version, shadows are one of the things you least wanted to see because they would ambush you all the time. In this version, that's inverted. You almost always get preemptives on them now.
And on Xelnas' screen, it looked like, when he's going that menu right there, like he might still have a saber equipped on one of his characters.
It's certainly possible. We are seeing a lot of rust from his screen. but that doesn't mean anything necessarily this early. We've seen quite a few races where it looked like one runner had an insurmountable lead, and then encounter lucks and wipes just caused things to start falling apart.
It looks like we're gonna get a little bit of a commentator's curse because we just had an ambush of shadows on Poorscythe's screen after talking about that.
It is rare, but it can happen. It's pretty much almost always going to be a preemptive, but if it's not, it's going to be an ambush. There's pretty much no normal encounter against them.
Yeah, I believe the numbers, and I could be wrong, is 1 in 8 chance of an ambush, 7 in 8 of a preemptive.
It's something like that. It's definitely disproportionately tilted in that manner. Ooh, xelnas getting all the Pisco Demon encounters.
Yep. And trying to run these group Pisco Demons, we all make that mistake sometimes. We're on autopilot, hit those shoulder buttons, and then realize we can't actually run.
It is a speed run, you gotta go fast, but there's actually a very small window in time between when you see the enemies and when the game will accept the run command from holding the shoulder buttons. And if you could train yourself to show a smidge of restraint in that little time, you could save yourself from trying to run from enemies that are unrunnable.
But we're speedrunners and we're not known for being patient.
Sometimes you gotta slow down to go fast.
Yep. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. That's also true for the item glitch I discovered when I was trying to learn the item glitch initially. I always tried doing it really, really fast. I learned if I slowed down and took my time doing it, I actually completed it more consistently and therefore more quickly.
And that is true. With the controller I use, I have to pretty much hit it precisely, not just on the frame, but on the button itself to get the glitch to trigger, but if I slow down just a smidge, I can hit it deliberately enough.
And Poorscythe's getting wrecked by encounters right here, right now. Fortunately, they're fairly nice ones.
Yeah, but like I said, these encounters can slow you down. xelnas could turn around and have a hero run through the first 2 or 3 floors.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty. So, we have our warrior. Why is he in our party?
The main reason is because of just what he can equip. Until we get the class change done later, the warrior is going to be the only one who can equip the gloves needed to make barbarian swords, or lust daggers, or the shield for the mage staff, or what have you. That is literally the only reason he's there.
I thought he was the most powerful attacker in the game.
Not in this version, and not when you glitch a barbarian sword. The thief/ninja actually takes a huge lead in that regard because agility matters when it comes to your attacks.
So, unlike all the versions of this, or the early version of this game, the thief, instead of being useless, is actually our major damage dealer. So that is why he's in the game. Why do we have the black mage?
Well, the black mage has a little bit of intelligence, which even on barbarian sword route, if you're not equipping anything to boost your spell power, you can still use those judgment staffs even late into the game and clear groups. Also, black mage gets haste. That's going to be pretty vital in the end of the game.
But this game is turn-based. Why would haste help?
Haste functions differently in this version than it does in versions with the ATB system. In this one, it just flat out doubles the number of hits you take. Or deliver, rather. So, say you're normally hitting 4 hits, slap the haste on, you're suddenly hitting 8 hits, and conceivably double the damage.
Yeah, so haste essentially doubles your physical attack power, which is very different for a lot of people, what they expect from a haste spell. And then the white mage we have simply for the final boss battle, and that's it. We need healing, and we need healing bad. Also, on the Lust Dagger route, there's a white mage route where she's given some magic boosting items to make her the character doing most of your casting, because she'll have very high magic attack power, and she'll be able to use lower powered but faster animating items than the Judgment Staff to take out large groups of enemies.
And we're likely to see this pretty soon from Poorscythe's side. He's about to hit Lich. This is one of the major roadblocks in a speed run, and you can see they're saving.
One nice thing is this was originally designed for a mobile system, and you can save anywhere. I have a special love for this battle after my last race in this tournament, where Lich has a chance of casting a certain spell, Lazara. It's not a high chance, but it's not exceptionally low either, so we'll always save. Looks like Poorscythe's going to be fine. Lazara, if he casts it, will one-hit your party. There's nothing you can do about it. In my race last week, he cast Lazara 4 times in a row. And xelnas just got petrified over on the right side.
Yeah, now he has a chance to go first about roughly 30% of the time, and you saw this time he let off with an attack, but a lot of the time he likes to lead off with Lazara, so a fair number of these runs die at Lich.
And if you're on a grind to get a PB, you might reset at that point. Actually, for a long time I had a PB where he had killed me at that point, but I was so far ahead at that point I kept going. But it's not a huge time loss. About 30 seconds for the reset and do the whole thing again. But when he does it multiple times in a row, which is it can be very frustrating.
And it also depends on what system you're using.
Yes. If you're running on the console, especially on a UMD, it can be a big time loss. The emulator versus the digital download version of PSP, they're very, very similar games. The big differences really are in your saving and loading times. The emulator is a little faster there.
Yeah, typically for racing, if you want to go the absolute fastest, and it is allowed, you want to use the emulator, but if you're just grinding out PB runs and you're at the point where you're not bothering to save, the emulator and the console with the ISO, as opposed to the console with the UMD, are fairly similar.
xelnas just got out of a near paralock there.
Yeah, those paralocks are pretty nasty, and some of those enemies in there, especially the wraiths, you may think, I got 3 Thief's armor with some of my guys, what do I have to worry about? I'm usually going to go first. Yeah, they have a ton of agility.
So I want to mention for a second about map movement in this game, the world map. Poorscythe just went through a large section of the world map where there was nothing but blue water tiles visible. One of the hurdles to get over when you first start learning this game is to know your landmarks on how to navigate the world map, because there are large sections of the map that are just water, and if you get turned around in there, it can take a while to find your way back to where you're trying to go.
And it could be especially bad with the sea, because one pretty rough encounter and you might get crossed up.
So Poorscythe's selling some items there, partially, mostly just to open up some item slots to make some of his menuing later in the game between magic items a little quicker, putting them closer to each other.
So he did pick up the mithril knife somewhere along the way, because I did see black robe in the options of equipable armor. So here he's going to swap the white mage and black mage to their endgame configuration. That's mainly so he can glitch off the warrior again onto the black mage, but the warrior will not be getting black garb.
Yeah, by the time we get to the point where we could put it on him, is not really going to be worth the time it takes to do it. And Poorscythe picking up a canoe. Now, the sage there who gives you the canoe will only give that canoe to you after you defeat Lich. If that were not the case, we would actually be coming here earlier in the game to make the Earth much, much faster prospect.
Yep, in fact, this is something you see a lot in the NES randomizer, because they do have a flag where you can get the canoe without beating Lich. And believe me, as annoying as Earth Cave can be, you want to push that sucker back as long as you can. If you're playing vanilla, you don't have that option. So Poorscythe's using the dock tiles again, and now he is headed toward the ice cave to get the next progression item.
Well, it's nice visiting the ice cave. The ice cave, I've always looked at as a nice, easy part of the run without any stress at all and no danger, correct?
What game are you playing?
So, in this cavern of ice, we have Pisco demons, which are annoying. But worse than that, we have more cockatrices, which can petrify us. We have mind flayers, who have the ability to petrify the entire party in one shot if they choose to, and whose physical attack has instant death, sometimes proc with it. We can have the 1 in 64 chance on an encounter of getting white dragons, which can cast a ice spell that can wipe our party. We can have dark wizards, which can cast Faraga and wipe our party. Am I missing anything?
Yeah, I think you mostly covered it, except it's stun locking that the mind flayers can do all in one go, not stoning.
Oh, yes. Thank you. And there's also, speaking of stun locking, there also is a lot of that potential with lots of undead in here. So, Cavern of Ice, it can go great, it can go very, very, very bad. It's actually what eliminated me from the tournament last year.
Absolutely. Them Dark Wizard and White Dragon ambushes are especially no joke.
Trent Killer is asking if Fighter Thief White and Black is the best setup for this version. That is absolutely the case. We were talking about it a minute ago, probably before you arrived. The Thief is actually our major damage dealer because of the glitches that allow him to have very powerful items with his higher agility. The Fighter allows us to initiate certain equipment glitches earlier in the game, and the White and Black mages we have for a few spells and their intelligence boosts for the end game.
And we specifically have a Black Mage over, say, a Red Mage, because the Black Mage gets access to the higher level spells faster, which means quicker access to haste, but more importantly, quicker access to teleport, and we'll be seeing how valuable that is in probably about 15 minutes or so.
Yep. So Poorscythe gets these Mind Flayers. Fortunately, Mind Flayers are fairly easy to run from. The big danger is an ambush from them.
And thankfully the groups in here are not terribly large.
Taking a safety save here, and well, not to save, but going ahead and healing our mages, we want this Evil Eye to cast Thundara first turn. But as soon as possible, we want our Thief and our Warrior dead. So I cast Gaze twice, 3 times. Okay, so
that stone is the stone is just as good as a death.
So we want that Thief dead. Okay, Thundara should do it. So now we're going to be leveling up our mages using the same encounter over and over until they're level 18. Some people go 18 plus 1 for safety. We're also picking up the Levistone in case we step too far and accidentally leave the area.
Yeah, the Barbarian Sword route tends to go 18 plus 1. Plus, it all depends on when you're deciding to bring up the thief and the warrior. The thief almost always comes up once the grind is done, but newer routes have left the warrior dead for much longer.
The reason being the warrior, for the most part, is ready for the final boss already, other than a few equipment glitches. He's going to need a few more hit points, but he's going to get what he needs to naturally in the game. The warrior's pretty much good to go. Now, speaking of hit points, why do they matter?
For the end boss, you may be thinking, oh, but these enemies are doing like 1 or 2 damage a shot. And that's true, with physical attacks. But Chaos is a completely different story. He can easily hit for about 250 to 270 damage with spells or with a physical attack if you're unlucky enough. And so, you're not worried about hit points so much on the white mage or the warrior. You are worried on the thief and the black mage, and both are essential. So, Poorscythe actually stopping the grind a smidge early.
So, we do need them to reach level 19 to learn the spells they want. There is a backup grinding spot where we would usually hit level 19 that we can repeat that battle a couple times if we need to. And xelnas is in the Cavern of Ice, taking care of some Pisco demons, while Poorscythe works his way to the impossible-to-say-name desert.
Yeah, all you really need to know is it's where the next item is.
Yeah, it's the desert.
And again, Poor is leaving that warrior stone because it's just as good as being dead. Stone characters do not pick up experience, and their share gets distributed among the living party members. I am really worried about that Black Mage's HP level over on xelnas' screen. 81 is extremely low. And for those of y'all in chat, don't click that link that just came up. It's a spam bot. It'll probably load your computer or phone up with all kind of nasty malware and stuff. So there we are in the Ryukon Desert.
And here we're able to skip another cutscene where we see the airship come out of the desert. Just trust us, it's there.
Yeah, it's a pretty long cutscene otherwise.
And now we're heading toward the Citadel of Trials. Now, at this point, we were way off the intended route of the game. We were supposed to, after we got the canoe, go take care of Marilith and Mount Gulg, but we just decided to go to the Ice Cavern instead early. Now we're going to do our Citadel of Trials early, and do a bunch of stuff early. Poorscythe is in the desert, having to worry about a possible encounter with a sandworm. That's why I took a safety save. The sandworm does have a chance of one-shotting the entire party.
And that is true, using Earthquake. So again, you see him beelining for those swamp tiles. And you may be thinking, if you run one of the other versions, well, isn't it faster just to use the ship and sail up there? Actually, no.
Yeah, on average, it is slightly faster to go ahead and take the airship, then make the walk. But that being said, it is within the it could go either way as far as random encounters, how they affect it. But on average, since there aren't any unrunnables, and they're mostly easy runnables on that walk, it is faster to take the airship than walk. And then it also gets us in a better position for routing to do the next little bit of the game.
Yep. There's also the main factor is that the encounters are a little harder, and if you're doing a more legitimate route, you may have more trouble getting away from the enemies there, so you may be more inclined to take the ship because the encounters on the sea are much more friendly.
And Minotaur zombies here on Poorscythe's side, those are an unrunnable encounter. It is one of 2 unrunnable encounters in the Citadel Trials. The other one is the zombie dragon, very rare, 1 in 64 chance. But we also have these nightmares up here that we're about to face on the spike tile. We're going to fight them twice. Nightmares are not unrunnable, but they are very difficult to run from, so we just go ahead and fight them, and we also use them in our experience routing.
Exactly, and even when you run into them later and you have much better running gear and more levels on you and stuff, you're probably still just gonna kill them and get it over with.
And so Poorscythe's picking up the healing staff. We're going to be using that later in the game to make the lordly robes, which are going to increase the magic power, the intelligence, so magic damage, or healing ability for our white mage and black mage. Is also going to be the first piece of equipment that is safe to equip on the shield slot without risking a soft lock.
So we have a mummy ambush over here on the left, and mummies have sleep touch. It's not necessarily as devastating as a stun touch or stone or death, but it can be annoying. If you're in the course of your turn and you get hit with sleep, pretty much whatever you were going to do is going to be erased.
Alright. We also picked up the gauntlets, which have served 2 purposes. 1, they can be used to cast Thundara for free, and 2, they can be glitched into the gold staff for the final boss fight for the white mage to increase her healing power. And Poorscythe dealing with these dragon zombies, I'm probably going to check and make sure we're level 19 on our mages. Or just hoping that we are, looks like. I think we will be, because we had those Minotaur zombies. So we had some forced encounters.
Yeah, and there were there 2 dragon zombies there?
I believe it was 2. That was like 8 seconds ago. I don't remember anything.
I hear you. I'm getting old. I'm suffering from CRS. But no, if he fought 3 Minotaur zombies, 2 nightmares each go, and 2 zombie dragons, he should be pretty close to caught up. The volcano should finish the job.
Yes. So now Poorscythe is heading over to the Dragon Caves. Gonna pick up our class upgrades. Class upgrades are the whole reason we part of the reason we visit Citadel Trials. There's also some great items in there with the healing staff and the gauntlets. Those 3 combined, those and the upgrades, make it absolutely worth getting the upgrades. The upgrades will allow us to cast a few more spells, and it's going to allow our thief to equip some more items. I believe we have a general stat boost from them too, do we not?
I found that you get a better chance of good HP level ups after a class change.
Yeah.
More so on the thief. The black wizard simply has the worst HP growth in the game, whether he class changes or not. Yeah,
our hit point pools by the end of the game, with the random nature of the level ups and the hit point pools, it can be a factor of 100%. You can have a black mage with 150 health. You can have one with 350 health. just from the random HP rolls. It's same thing. Your white mage might have 300 or 600, but generally your white mage is okay. So we really worry about the black mage and the ninja. We're actually picking up some safety items here for the very likely occasion where they will not have enough hit points going to the last battle. At the caravan, we're going to be buying a fairy bottle, which is a quest item. We're also going to pick up some Giant's tonics, and Giant's tonics will allow us to increase a character's hit point pool by 200 for the duration of one battle. So we will most likely be using those on the final boss.
Specifically the max HP, not the current HP.
Yes, because Chaos does have very good chance of dealing enough damage that there's no way on certain spells for the Black Mage or the Ninja to survive the attack even at full health. So we need to increase that full health.
And with that pickup of the Giant's Tonic and the Fairy Bottle, Poorscythe is pretty much done buying stuff for the rest of the run.
Yep. Swinging by, there's a guy who released that fairy in that bottle, which, by the way, we have fairies in bottles, so we're basically the same thing as Link the Past Randomizer. But we're going to be using that to get Oxy Ale, which is an ale that allows us to breathe underwater. On a personal note, I am a scuba instructor, and that's exactly how I teach my students to dive.
So now we're going to see Poorscythe headed to the volcano, which is where our next fiend is waiting.
Oh, got the Mind Flayer ambush on Xelnas' side.
Oh no. And his thief is stoned.
Oh, this could be bad. He is paralocked and stoned. So we gotta hope that these mages don't get killed. There's a good chance in every one of these physical attacks that it could one-shot the party. Oh, one-shot the character, rather, with a instant death proc. Meanwhile, on Poorscythe's side, he's aiming at lava tiles because there's no encounters and they do not increase the threat counter. So we take that one hit point of damage.
And we just saw the Black Mage go down to that death touch over on Xelnas' screen. The other problem with having those characters stoned is it is just like death, and that means they will not be selected as targets for attacks from the enemies.
Oh, and he does get wiped. When was the last save?
I don't remember.
It does not look like he's loading a save right now. It may have been a while.
So, Poorscythe reviving the warrior, and this is by design, and we have a forfeit.
So, everyone give a GG to Xelnas. You know, sometimes the game just does that to you.
We're not overstating it when we say that a bunch of stuff on this route can end a run.
Mm-hmm.
Poorscythe having no trouble with the Merilith, and pretty much just has to complete the game now. So we're probably going to have Xelnas joining us in a couple minutes. It always sucks to see a forfeit like that, but the show must go on, and Poorscythe still has to finish, so
Yep.
may as well call this.
Yep. And Poorscythe defeating Merilith in under an hour, so making pretty good time here. Visiting Elfheim, going to come by the haste spell, which, as we said earlier, is basically going to double our attack power when we use it.
And it's a certainty that it's going to be on the Black Wizard. not enough levels on the ninja yet, though. Sometimes the stars can align, and you can manage to get enough XP on ninja to get haste on him as well.
Hey, xelnas. Good game. Final Fantasy 1 looked like it was being Final Fantasy 1 to you. And I believe your mic is muted.
So we see Poorscythe stopping in Melman quick to pick up 2 more vital spells for the run.
That's because I'm trying not to. Oh, now I can't hear you. 1 second. Sorry.
Question from chat, Roach788 asking what happened to xelnas. He wiped 2 mind flayers in the Citadel of Trials.
And I don't...
I can hear
yeah.
you now.
Hey! Well, welcome. We are sorry for what happened to you, but that's a good demonstration of what Final Fantasy 1 can do.
Yeah, and I knew I couldn't beat Poorscythe unless I literally just went full YOLO. So that's why I mean, I could have gotten Golden Needles before going there, but I mean, there was actually a chance that I just died. That encounter can actually just kill you no matter what. So
yeah.
So like, even if I had saved at like Lich, I wasn't gonna save like anywhere else between there. So it was like that encounter ambush is actually the worst encounter, I think.
Yeah. I mean, most of the time, the paralock doesn't happen, but when it does, it usually ends up being a wipe. Yeah, especially with that many of them.
Like you guys, somebody in chat's probably like lurking, being like, he could have just unhealed his petrified guys, or something. I mean, yes, but in theory, the mind flares could have just paralyzed all 4 and then done the exact same thing. But it would have taken twice as long. So all I did was end the guys as separates.
Alright, and Poorscythe is working his way through the Sunken Shrine. Yeah. There are a lot of unrunnable encounters here. Or rather, there's a very high chance the ones that we have. Ghosts, Sahagan Princes, and Water Elementals are unrunnable.
Yes. Specifically by themselves.
Yeah, the fact that there are 3 different encounter groups that are unrunnable here is what makes it annoying.
Yes.
And none of them are rare encounters.
No. And ghosts can kill you. Very rarely, but well, they can give a party member. That's about it. They won't actually kill you like I died, but they will. They will just randomly give the white mage or the black mage pretty often.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do have the highest non-fiend attack in the game.
Too. Dang. I wish I had those HP numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a bit worried about your black mage there.
The other thing you do have to worry about is the Water Naga encounters. Water Nagas can cast, I believe it's Thundara, and can surprise you with damage and get you.
And considering we stop as little as possible to do heals and stuff, they can easily catch you with your pants down.
And there's our use of teleport, right there. Teleport takes you back 1 floor closer to the exit, rather than straight to the world map. So it's really useful there when we have a fork in a dungeon to just back up 2 floors and then continue the other direction. Otherwise, we can use it also to get to the world map at several points. So teleport is a very nice spell for us. And Poorscythe is having an excellent Sunken Shrine, so I'm glad I said that right before that encounter.
Gotta be more mindful of that commentary cursing. And speaking of potential cursing, this has been a good run so far, even with the unrunnables. But the final swap can make or break a race, typically.
No, that was definitely FF1 PSP being FF1 PSP.
Mm. Alright, so we're doing another item in here. We're going to go to the right side of this chest, because there's no spike tile there like there is on the other two sides.
Right, when this game was originally made for the NES, it looked like there was space there, but due to the way the tiles worked, there actually wasn't. When they ported this to GBA and PSP, they kept the layout, but they altered the placement, which opened up that one tile on the right side where the other ones are still spiked. So now we see Poor glitching the two sets of lordly robes onto the white mage and glitching two survival vests onto the white mage and a bunch of survival vests onto the others. Each survival vest grants 15 agility. And each of those lordly robes gives a lot of intelligence, so that white mage is a beast when it comes to those spellcasting items.
You notice now, not instead of using the Judgment Staff, we used the Mage's Staff and now the Gauntlets to use much faster animation times on spells that beforehand would not have been sufficiently powerful to take out those groups. So that's the power of the Lordly Robes. So oddly enough, our most powerful black magic user in a way right now is our white mage. Final Fantasy 1.
Rocking that boosted intelligence and that 50 extra agility from the Lust Dagger and the two survival vests.
And the Lust Dagger route, when it came along, really opened up the use of the white mage. Because beforehand, she had very low agility, and even though she had the Lordly Robes and could one-shot those groups, she typically went last after all the enemies had gone, so it wasn't worth waiting for her to have her turn. But now that we're using the Lust Dagger, she typically goes before the enemies and makes the white mage a much, much more useful character in this run.
Of course, it's kind of come full circle with the route that a lot of people are starting to transition to now, with the Lust Dagger and the Black Mage getting the best of both worlds.
Yep. And Kraken there, Vanilla is one of the harder of the four fiends because he hits like a truck. But since we have 3 sets of armor, or 4 sets of armor on most of our characters, those physical attacks don't mean much to us, and his magic attacks are kind of weak sauce. So he's actually the easiest of the 4 fiends in the glitched version of the game.
Typically, you don't even have to heal for him.
So we're almost done with these little post-fiend cutscenes. Got 3 of the 4 done. And now we're going to be going back for our final visit to the Melman, but before we go there, we're going to be swinging by the Waterfall Cave. There are 1 key item in here, the Warp Cube, and also is where we're going to find our ribbons, which are going to be very important for the later part of the game.
There are 3 ribbons to be found in this game normally. Of course.
We're equipping 4.
And the other 2 are harder to get to. The one in the Sea Shrine is hidden behind a trap tile, and the one in Sky Castle is out of the way. But this one's pretty much right on the beaten path.
And we're going to be using a little different variation of the item glitch. The only time we use it in the run is an item duplication glitch. And it's basically you're performing the item glitch twice. You're going to be using the... we're going to be picking up a ribbon, using it to create a Gigantaxe, and then we're going to use that Gigantaxe to create more ribbons.
And that is true, because when you glitch an item, you consume any that are in the inventory. So if you just tried to glitch that ribbon onto a slot it didn't belong on, that's great. You have one ribbon in the wrong slot, but you can't get more. But if the item doesn't already exist, then it makes a copy from thin air. So by making the Gigantax, we can then do the glitch once to turn it into a ribbon, consuming the one in inventory, and then make 3 more. I believe it's 1 or 2 more at this switch, and then the rest of them later on by Chaos.
Yes. On the old route, we did all 4 from here. Now, the ribbon, we use it for 2 reasons. One is it does give all of our characters immunity to status effects, but more importantly, it is going to be our major defense against elemental magic for the final boss fight.
And that's right. All elemental damage coming in is gonna be cut in half pretty much, if not lower.
And unlike our other armors, that effect does not stack. Otherwise, in the final boss fight, we'd be using lots and lots of ribbons, and wouldn't have to have quite as much healing power in the White Mage. But unfortunately, we cannot stack that effect.
Of course, then a physical from Chaos could one-shot us, because even with all these bonuses, the ribbon does only offer 1 physical defense.
That's correct. And that was a pretty good waterfall cave. That can be a really rough cavern. So Poorscythe is now going for this final visit to Melmond, where we're going to be dropping off that Rosetta Stone we picked up at the top of the Sunken Shrine to learn Lufenian. If I learned anything in my linguistics classes in college, it is that it takes about 12 seconds to learn a new language. My guess, this is basically the Final Fantasy world's equivalent to Pig Latin, is how you speak Lufenian.
It could also be a buffalo scenario.
It could be.
So he's got that done, and now he's gonna swing over by Provoca, but only to get an orientation figured out to fly northward so he can land in about the right spot to make the long walk to Lufenia.
So there are 2 encounters really of note here that we're watching out for. One is anything with Minotaur zombies, because they are unrunnable, but the Mage's Staff and the White Mage should take care of that. The other is large groups of Winter Wolves, which can cast Ice Storm. It's a low-power version of Ice Storm, unlike the White Dragons, but it can still eat a lot of time, and if your characters are low hit points, it can be a threat.
Yeah, sitting through 7 ice storms is an absolute pain. Now, thankfully, it does hit your entire party at once instead of going through each party member like it does on earlier versions, but it is still a time waster.
And Lufenia is a town that we think very fondly of the NPCs here. There's lots of opportunity for NPCs to block your path here. It looks like Poorscythe had perfect luck from them, though.
And just like that, he warps out, and he's gonna start walking back.
Working our way to the final of the 4 fiends, that has a 2-dungeon route to get to Tiamat. We have to get through the Mirage Tower and then the Flying Fortress. Mirage Tower has one of the highest encounter rates in the game, along with the Waterfall Cavern, so it can be frustrating. Lots of 1- and 2-step potential encounters. But only 1 unrunnable, and it is only a 1 in 64 chance of running across it. Then in the Flying Fortress, there's also only 1 unrunnable, but it's just the death that we fought earlier, so it's a fairly easy unrunnable.
Yeah, our mages were one-shotting it about 10 levels ago with their lust daggers, so pretty much nothing to be concerned about. The eyes do only appear alone.
But there is a 164 encounter on the top floor, the Flying Fortress, that we are actually hoping to see.
I thought it was actually 1 in 32.
It might be. I thought it was 164. It's very uncommon.
And things are going pretty quick, so you might want to get your Bless RNGs going in chat now if you want to potentially see a Warmac. And again, because there's no encounter table in this version, he can show up. You can't just route around him. So let's get some Bless RNGs going. Let's get that Warmech hype going, and hopefully we'll see one.
Yep. We have yet to see a Warmech in this tournament.
So yeah, going through this Mirage Tower with this encounter rate, it feels like playing the GBA version. That is another difference besides the whole fact that the glitch exists. In the GBA version, the encounter rate is actually a little bit higher. So, running into that blue dragon now, it can thunder us, but making short work of him. And now we're in Flying Fortress, which is nothing like the NES version, at least when it comes to the aesthetic.
But still has some robots.
Yeah, go figure. I liked it better when it resembled a highly teched out space station. And as we can see, our runner just has no reason to open any more chests for the rest of the game. He's got everything he needs.
Now this room right here, the famous looping room, can be very frustrating if you lose track of where you are in all these battles. Because if you get off alignment, it can be hard to find out where you are. So you have to make sure you keep good track in your brain of where you're located when you get into an ambush or into a battle. Air elementals are the only elemental that you can run from when they're by themselves.
Well, fair enough. It's the one you'll see most of the time that you can run from. There is an edge case where the Water Naga water elemental encounter cannot have the Water Naga spawn, but it's still runnable.
Yes, that is true. There's just no way to know that happened.
It's an edge case, though.
Yep. All right, and what do we got? Oh, it is not a Warmech. All right, we can still hope. This is the floor where it can happen.
Unfortunately, they did nerf the heck out of the encounter rate for this floor in these versions.
So, Tiamat here, generally a pretty safe fight, but if you do not heal beforehand, every runner has forgotten to heal beforehand and had him cast Thunderbolt and wipe the party. But from full health, the party should be safe here.
And fortunately, we don't have to find out if that Black Mage's HP was a little too low.
And we did get to see haste used for the first time, which is why that ninja hit like a truck there.
Yeah, with the Lust Dagger roots, you have to start using haste a little bit earlier in order to ensure one-rounders. Barbarian Sword doesn't start having to pull that off until about Tiamat 2.
All right, here's our final Fiend cutscene, showing the entrance into the Whisperwind Cove bonus dungeon.
Those bonus dungeons are some very awesome content. If you're playing it casually, I suggest you go through them.
They're a lot of fun. You get to fight bosses from other Final Fantasy games in the series. So if you want to fight the Phantom Train, you can. If you want to fight... Poorscythe is trying to get a Warmech. But if you want to fight Phantom Train, you can. If you want to fight Siegfried in Final Fantasy V while playing that awesome Battle on the Bridge theme, that's an option in Final Fantasy I's PSP version.
But you're going to have to do it yourself because we'll be seeing none of that in this run. Yeah, it looks like Poorscythe is actually trying to give us a Warmech since he doesn't have to worry about finishing second.
Black Fawn is not a common encounter. Yep.
Yeah, I believe Warmech is the one in 32 and the Dark Fighter is the one in 64 on this floor, but I could be wrong.
On the dock, it's saying 1 in 64, but regardless, it's uncommon. Hundreds of runs, I've had it happen once, maybe twice, randomly.
And the lower encounter rating up here doesn't help matters and giving up.
Yeah.
Oh well, he tried.
Yeah. To put in perspective how quick this game can go sometimes, Poorscythe's PB he got yesterday, he would be done with the game in 5 minutes from now. So, sometimes the game can be very, very kind to you. Because what he's doing right now is a decent run.
Yep, and we're seeing another cutscene here that leads to a bonus dungeon that is specific only to this version of the game. The one I was talking about earlier where you can get items like the Lost Dagger or the Barbarian Sword. And we will not be seeing it. In fact, the way it's laid out can confuse newer runners. Oh, I must want to go up there. No, you don't. You want to go straight ahead.
Alright, and now that we are entering the final dungeon, this is the point at which I'd like to talk about chest. I'm a big fan of Bob's chest, but some people like the tile room. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not Final Fantasy. So, going along here, we're gonna do the Chaos Shrine. Lots and lots of unrunnables in here. We have purple worms, we have green dragons, we have zombie dragons, we have earth elementals, fire elementals, water elementals. We have
iron golems, ice gigases.
Yep. We also have some dangerous encounters, like the white dragons, which, while not unrunnable, can wipe the party, so sometimes we just choose to fight them. So this is where the white mage can really show off all these abilities. So we know that the green dragons will die from a white mage's use of the black robes. We know that the zombie dragon will die from a mage's staff. We know that the water elementals will die from the use of gauntlets. And so she can really show off her ability to just take out these enemy groups quickly.
Actually, the water elementals die from the black robe too.
That's black robe, you're right. Yes.
Really, the only thing she can't one-shot with the elemental items are purple worms and maybe ice gigases.
Yeah, ice gigases we will typically use the judgment staff on.
Yeah, in the case of the ice gigases, they just have a ton of HP. In the case of the purple worms, they don't have an elemental weakness to exploit. And I did mention iron golems. Those can appear on Tiamat 2's floor, but they are an extremely rare encounter, so...
Yes, they are one of our 1 in 64s. We actually have a doc we're keeping track of off-stream. Anytime someone in the tournament runs in one of the 1 in 64 encounters, we log it. And here are those white dragons. And in this tournament, so far, we have yet to see Warmech. We have seen an Iron Golem in Starcrawl's race. on the 29th.
So these white dragons can be very, very problematic. If they ambush you with Ice Storm, and there's 3 or 4 of them, it can cost you the run. The other enemies are mainly just annoying, but that's why we did see the safety save right at the start of the Chaos Temple.
And we're also going to have another safety save most likely here, because Lich 2 can cast Flare. Once again, Lich is the scariest of the 4 fiends.
Well, shouldn't have as much to worry about, because that warrior, that knight, will definitely survive a flare.
Yes. Yeah, that knight is just full of hit points. And here comes that flare.
Everyone else, though, is probably dead.
Oh, White Mage is good, so we're good.
Unfortunately, the ribbons do not protect at all against flare, since it's non-elemental damage. But it's still smart to heal to full before Lich. I have lost a run to him flaring. I've actually lost a run to a lot of these really bad encounters.
Yeah, you make enough runs, you lose runs to just about everything. And it's hard not to just safety save every 8 steps in this game with how many times you've died to just something random happening. So you have to learn to kind of play the odds and where to do those safety saves.
Thankfully, in a race setting, it doesn't penalize you anywhere near as much.
Yeah. So this fire floor, there's one floor for each of the revisits for the 4 fiends. The fire floor is typically going to be the easiest one. There's only one unrunnable encounter, and it's very rare. It's 1 in 32, I believe. And it's a fairly short floor to begin with.
So we see that Faraga wiping out the Black Mage again, and that's because he don't have a ribbon equipped yet.
Mm-hmm. He also is fairly low hit points. Unless something crazy happens, we're definitely going to be needing a Giant's Tonic on him. And our Ninja is at 278, so there's a chance of him getting high enough, but we'll most likely be seeing the Giant's Tonics used on both our Ninja and our Black Wizard.
Yeah, and let's face it, the Black Wizard snake bit anyway from the start of the game just because of the name. I mean, who names a character Dan if they don't expect them to die every 3rd or 4th fight? Belkinsa with the Mega Sub. Very nice. We thank you. So, Kraken 2, again, is pretty much just nothing to worry about. His strength lies in physicals, and we are, while not completely impervious, a critical could still do some damage. We are highly resistant.
And 4 purple worms.
Boy. Yep, time to break out the Judgment Staff.
And coming up on Tiamat 2, and here in just a moment, we are once again going to be using Haste here. This is actually the first boss fight in the game, I believe, that we cannot one-cycle, even with good luck.
That's correct. Even the Barbarian Sword route is hasting one person to try to one-cycle it. Curiously, Poorscythe didn't haste.
So it's probably going to be a 3-cycle.
Oh, that could have been bad. Because the White Mage and Black Mage are still unprotected from those attacks like Scourge. But again, you're mainly playing the odds here. You desperately want your heavy hitters to survive, so that's why they have ribbons.
We got the Stone Golems. Alright, so we are done with random encounters. And Poorscythe's going to be doing one final menu. Going to be giving the white mage a golden staff. We're going to be giving her some lordly robes and a ribbon. Importantly, we were not going to have lordly robes on the armor slot because it does have the haste property attached to it. And we do not want to see, not the haste, the region stat attached to it. And if it's on the armor slot, it will cause an animation every turn. So we're going to put the ribbon on that slot. We're also going to give a barbarian sword and a ribbon to the black mage so he can chip in some damage later on the fight. So the first turn, we're most likely going to be seeing two uses of the Giant's Tonic, the spell Haste and the spell Hilara. We will be sealing Hilara every turn from the white mage.
And typically the way this fight works, you can get by just before the white wizard starts running desperately low on magic. But everything has to go right.
Yeah, haste is really important, not just to speed up this battle, but so that we can finish this battle before the white mage runs out of hit points. And unfortunately, it looks like we used Giant's Tonic twice on the ninja instead of once on the ninja, once on the...
No, he did get it on the black wizard.
Oh, he did? Okay, never mind.
The black wizard's base HP was just terribly low.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Just brain not working. All right. And so now the ninja and the warrior are going to be attacking every turn. Once all three of our damage dealers has haste, everyone but the white mage is going to be attacking every turn. White mage is going to be healing every turn. There's going to kind of a hold A to win strat.
Pretty much. And you want to be seeing these physical attacks out of Chaos. Not only is it a short animation to begin with, Blizzaga is not terrible to see, but once he starts going into his skills, he does a cycle of them, and they all have really long animations.
And some of them can hit very, very hard. Specifically, Whirlwind and Tornado, rather, and or is it Whirlwind? One of those two, and the water one. Who's my brain's not working right now. Slowra also is bad. Slowra undoes haste.
Yep. But thankfully, too little too late out of Chaos, we have a completion with an SRL time of 1:31:36.
So that's a very good time, especially considering that grinding trying to get Warmech. And that was a picture-perfect Chaos fight, pretty much. That couldn't have gone much better. So GG to Poorscythe and xelnas for their runs. Let's go ahead and get Poorscythe in chat if he wants to come in.
Yep, seems like he more than wants to.
So we'll give him a moment to get in here. And everyone, make sure to go ahead and follow Poorscythe and xelnas.
Hello.
Hey. Congratulations. Good game.
Just a second.
Poorscythe getting his audio fixed. There we go. Alright. Good game.
Thank you.
Thank you for trying to get us that Warmech there.
I almost wanted to try for Iron Golem too.
Yeah, so that was a fantastic time, especially considering that little bit of grinding you did. That's still better than a lot of players' PBs. So that was a solid run all around. Unfortunately, xelnas taking that death to the Mind Flayers. That just sometimes happens to you.
I wasn't watching, so all I saw was when he forfeited.
Yeah, he got Mind Flayer ambushed in the Citadel, and he had not safety saved.
Yeah, I've done enough of these races to know that I should just save when I want to.
Yeah.
I don't take anything for granted anymore in races.
Yeah, what I do when I'm trying to PB grind, what I do in a race are very different things. And You know, I might take a minute of extra time on a race just doing safety strats.
I mean, everywhere that I saved in Mount Gulg. I don't ever save in Mount Gulg, but I just wanted to be careful just in case.
All right.
Yeah, especially as low as you work your HP down in there walking on them lava tiles in the wrong ambush.
Yep. I think all of us have lost to Hellhound ambushes in there before.
I haven't, actually.
The day is coming.
Yeah, I think I just commentator cursed myself.
Yeah, it's inevitable. I mean, I was pretty happy with that run overall because I played about as well as I could. I feel like I made a couple of little menuing mistakes in combat, but other than that, and a couple of glitches, menus I messed up a little bit, but on the whole, it was a pretty solid run.
Yeah, I didn't see any run attempts on unrunnables, and I wasn't really seeing any like failed run attempts on runnables. Like you had pretty good running luck.
I would say so for the most part. I took that really early staff on the wolves. That's like,
yeah,
I've never had to do that in a long time, and I just wanted to make sure that I could keep going. Because there's many things that can just slow you down with this.
Mm-hmm.
Those early wolf encounters can be such a pain.
Yeah, I don't know how many runs I've had that would have been PBs if I had just gotten fresh over the wolves and quit.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about that one. It was slower than I'd like. Honestly, it's kind of funny against these new splits because it looks like I'm so much closer to my PB than I feel like I really am with how bad they are on the early going. But
yeah, your chaos fight actually went really, really well. That was a very fast chaos.
Yeah,
a lot of physicals.
Did he even blaze? I don't even think he got to the skill cycles on that one.
No, the only spell I saw was Blizzaga.
He did Blizzara, he did Slowra.
He did Slowra, yeah. But he did Slowra at the very end where it didn't really even matter.
Yeah.
Slowra get a
physicals, I think.
Yeah. That was a pretty great chaos battle. But, but before we get going, I do want to go ahead and thank Fiesel and everyone down at Speed Gaming for hosting us, allowing us to show off this game. And want to thank Poorscythe and xelnas for running, and I want to thank Terralyn for joining us, and of course everyone out there in chat for watching the game. Y'all have anyone y'all want to give shout outs to?
Well, thank you for assisting with the commentary, Shin. It would have been me alone, but I always appreciate the help.
Oh, it's always fun.
I'll just say thank you guys. I'm going to have to watch it back later and see what I got from you, including if Shin gave me any crap or not.
I may have given you a little curse here and there for unrunnables.
It happens.
So, yeah, give the runners follows, give Fiesel follows, follow all the Speed Gaming channels. Right now, as the bot is saying, there is a SMB3 randomizer tournament match happening over on Speed Gaming 2, and I'm probably going to jump over and watch that.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
Go watch that.
All right. And thank y'all so much for tuning in. Y'all have yourselves a wonderful evening.
Let's say le bon temps roulette. Good night, y'all.